Bless the Lord, early birds. This is the day the Lord has made. In spite of this being the day after a tremendous day of an election cycle of historic and what one might call biblical and epic proportions, we will still rejoice and be glad in it. And if you're like me, you may be a little heavy and yet hopeful on the same cusp. It's quite a moment. This second Wednesday in the next to the last month of 2022. Here we are in November. And as the seasons change and as the year is about to change, a lot is happening. And as much as some things are changing, other things remain the same. And some things have been the way we would want them, and some things have not. And thus is the kind of the tension, the polemic that seems to play out in our passages today, afforded us by the BiblePlan.org, ordering in the chronological setup through the Bible in a year, reflections in both the Old and New Testament on a daily basis. Today, this particular couplet takes us to Hebrews 13 and to Lamentations, 3rd through the 5th chapters. And it's always astounding to me how timely and real, relevant, and how contextual the word is. The word is life and breath, and the word is flesh that dwells among us in ways like today. The Hebrew writer is writing to a community, a siege, a faith community that is under the persecution of perhaps emperor like Nero, came to power in 54 AD, and power concluded as all tyrannical seasons conclude at around 68 AD. And it is a time of tremendous turmoil. People are imprisoned. People are disappeared, missing, never to return, persecuted in ways that we see currently around the world in places where for just speaking out, for just being who they are, persecuted just because it's politically expedient. It gets the ratings and the support, although very superficial and cynical, is nevertheless temporarily effective. But what is even more effective is a word of hope to those who are under that kind of persecution. And so the writer of Hebrews is encouraging his audience, or even possibly her audience, with a sense of the expectation that God is ministering amidst the turmoil. It's not something that's totally alien to believers, as he has indicated earlier, that angels are ministering agents sent to encourage those who are pursuing their faith. You'll find that in chapters 1 and 2 of Hebrews. And so here we may not recognize angels, but we may not be aware of them, but they have been sent to us. And we need to be very cognizant of the potential to experience that presence and support. And that we ought to be angels to each other, treating each other with respect and love and patience and kindness. And that we ought to be able to help each other by remaining vigilant. That we've got to continue to love the Lord and love each other, to not be distracted by things, money and such, but that godliness with contentment is great gain. And so the writer is giving final instructions and encouragement in this homily, so to speak, which is probably what this entire treatise is. It reads like a sermon if you really look at it. Tremendous explication and writing that has given us hope. And in a time like this, we certainly need it. This is an amazing, again, couplet with Lamentations 3-5, as this book of alphabetical acrostic poems provides a way to learn and to exhibit grief, hurt, pain, disappointment amidst of horrible experiences, horrible scenes of tremendous loss and disappointment. The temple has been destroyed, sacked, decimated, and in a sense the glory has departed. This Ikah in Hebrew is the backdrop of a sense of God having departed, and a sense of there being a distancing, as many rabbis, as I've been grateful to have encountered some of the commentary suggests. This is about sensing and feeling the distancing from God. There's the temple was the evidence of God's presence. God lived in the temple, so to speak. And with the temple destroyed, there is no place on the earth for God to exist among God's people. And so he's departed, or he's not, or he's distant. It kind of puts me in the mind of what Jesus said: foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man have no place. So it's like this distancing. It's kind of echoing from that sense of God having departed. And yet there's the sense that God allows us to continue to see and be here. And that perhaps in that we're allowed to survive the experience gives hope and evidence of God's presence, or the hope for God's return or restoration in us. Yet there's this didactic, which is what alphabetical acrostic, there's 22 verses in the chapters 1, 2, 4, and 5, and then chapter 3 is 66 verses, which is kind of a triple acrostic, which the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are assigned to 3 verses instead of just 1. So there's a teachable experience here, learning how to deal with the grief, learning how to deal with the concerns, learning how to handle what happens and what's going on, and not suffering silently, but being very vocal about it, being a matter of fact about it, and experiencing it for what it is, knowing that some kind of way God is still working a work of restoration. God is a way maker, a miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who God is. Well, I encourage you to read chapters 13 of the book of Hebrews and Lamentations 3-5, and allow God to bless you with the same hope that the writers are writing with, in, and for. We love you. God bless you. And have an awesome day as you face the challenges of this day, as we continue to work and struggle hard with what we need to do. Peace and blessings.